Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Vasquez and I'm on the marketing team here at Jobvite. Before we get started today, I just want to thank everyone for joining us, especially our Jobvite customers. Hello. To begin, I'm going to go over a couple of introductory notes. First, you'll notice that all lines have been muted to avoid background noise. However, we would still love to have your questions. So if you want to use the chat box at the bottom of the Ready Talk panel, we'll be monitoring it throughout the presentation and saving your questions until the end. And with that, I would like our speakers to introduce themselves.
Hi everybody, my name is Kirsten Sedler. I am the College Recruiting Program Manager here at Zappos. A little bit about myself, I've actually been with Zappos over 7 years now. I've been on the recruiting team for about 6.5 years of that. I just want to talk a little bit about my college recruiting path. So we started the program in 2011, so I joined the team right from the get-go. There was a whopping 2 of us on the team, and I've pretty much been in the college recruiting team ever since. There was a short time I got promotion out and became a full-time recruiter for merchandising positions, finance positions, and everything like that. But there was an opportunity that presented itself about 9 months after that to go back into college recruiting, and since I'm in love with this program, I jumped at the chance. And pretty much have been back on the college recruiting team ever since March 2013. Our program, you'll learn today, is ever evolving, and can't wait to share more about it. Random facts about me is I have 3 dogs that are my children, and then I'm a huge, actually, nerd, so a fan of anime, anything sci-fi, fantasy. Random fact, I'm originally from Michigan, and so I'm a firm believer that it's called pop and not soda.
Thank you, Kirsten. This is Rachel Biddy, the Chief People Officer at Jobvite, and I'm thrilled to be participating with Kirsten on this opportunity. Kirsten also is very humble. She's part of our customer advisory board here at Jobvite, and so we're always thrilled to have her insights and helping us here at Jobvite. So I've been at Jobvite for 2 years now, in charge of kind of the head of people, but the best part of my job is I get to do things like this, which is connect with customers and prospects and being out there in the industry. Believe it or not, I have 20 years, I start to mumble that, experience in the industry, but started my career as a recruiter and eventually transitioned to what they call the dark side of the HR business partner side. But it's been a fantastic run, companies with as large as Apple and Intuit for 12 years, but then thrilled to be here at Jobvite. I don't have as exciting as fun facts. I'm a big outdoors person, so everything is about calories in and calories out. So as much snowboarding and hiking I can get done so that I can enjoy really yummy food and nice cocktails is definitely part of my daily regimen. But we're thrilled to have Kirsten here with us. So I'll kick it off with her and to share all of her great insights and wisdom with all of you.
Oh, thank you so much, Rachel. I'm all about the calories in. I don't know about the calories out. I'm a sucker for red wine myself. But thank you so much for everybody for joining today. We kind of want to kick it up to see, how many of you guys actually have a college recruiting team or a specific college recruiting program. And then if you don't have one, like how many are interested in starting one? So awesome. And I see some responses. So I'm here essentially to share a little bit about how ours got started and kind of the path we've taken over the last 6 years. And so I'm actually going to kick it off to kind of start from the beginning, if that's okay. Kind of jumped in. I know we have you'll see in the slides, we have a couple different phases that I'll walk through. So in the beginning, our program, we actually had just a normal recruiting team, like just for full-time, just tech positions, merchandising positions, and so an online retailer. So looking for buyers, we're also looking for, marketing people and finance people. And so we were kind of finally at the point where we could start a college recruiting team and start looking for, top talent that's coming right out of college or still in school. And Tony, our CEO, has always actually had a huge passion for starting a program, but we finally had the bandwidth to start it. And we actually started it in 2010. Or 2011, I apologize. And Rachel, I don't know if you want, I'm at the 3, 2, 1 slide.
Yep.
Sorry, I kind of jumped ahead.
That's okay. You're going great into the content, which is fabulous. Go for it.
We started in 2011. So in August 2011, actually, which If you guys do have a college recruiting program, you guys know that's really starting to get into the beginning of that fall recruiting semester. So we did the typical, we picked our top tier schools. Since this was our first year, we went to around 9 different schools. We identified schools with, great computer science majors, marketing majors, everything like that, everything that we needed to fill those internship positions. So we just started with a summer internship program. We weren't recruiting full time at that point. And then we did the typical go to career fairs, go to information sessions, interview on campus where you have 30 minutes with each candidate, but chatting with only a certain amount of candidates that are going to that career fair and that signed up through the school job board. And so that was just kind of like a little bit of our first year. It was amazing. Since we are Zappos, we tried to kind of set ourselves apart a little bit, and so we're like, okay, how do we, kind of Zappify it, the process, and stand out? So at the career fairs, we had a Nerf gun table set up where, if they got a bullseye, they got a free T-shirt. We also, instead of typical information sessions, we would host video game nights where we had, pizza and pop, and we did Mario Kart competitions, and it was just really opportunities to. And we gave away like great prizes like Xbox. I think at this point it was like Xbox 360 still. We were giving away amazing content. And sorry, I'm at the next slide. Sorry, guys. So yeah, and it was a typical, after we did the job fairs and we met all these amazing people, it was only a handful of people that got to meet them. So our follow-ups were Skype interviews. So, they would meet with 2 more people from the team, and that's pretty much it. So, which is standard recruiting process. So we were like, okay, this is awesome. Our first year we started with 19 summer interns in the various departments, and it was great. And we did that year 2 as well. We just expanded a little bit year 2, and we had 30 interns at that point, and we started traveling to a few more schools, and we opened the application window up nationwide. Because the first year we actually only just posted at those 9 schools, and we wanted to kind of get more talent, so we opened up an application window, like I said, nationwide, and it was awesome. It was amazing first 2 years of the program.
So, Kirsten, you definitely talk about the first 2 years being like a tremendous kickoff with all of this, but it also sounds at some point you guys really realized that you needed to what you called flip the script, right, on your college recruiting. So can you talk to us a little bit about that and kind of building a sustainable program?
Yeah, absolutely. So in March 2013, so we had just finished recruiting our second years of summer interns, so those, year 2, 30 interns were about to start their summer internship, and it all started, I always say, it all started with a quote from Tony. He came to us and was like, so when do the intern candidates come interview on site? And we're like, oh, well, they don't, and he goes, well, why? And I was like, well, so we actually we travel to college campuses and we interview them there and do the, the info sessions and, job fairs and everything like that. And he goes, well, why? And we're like, he's like, all of our full-time employees must come on site to interview before you can get hired, because not only do we want to make sure you're a right fit for us, we want to make sure we're a right fit for you, and that's what that entails is seeing our campus, seeing our culture firsthand, meeting with everybody on the team or maybe other teams that you'll be working closely with. And so we kind of sat back and were like, you know what, why don't we bring the interns on site, And so that was awesome. That was a huge turning point for us in 2013. We sat down and we kind of reevaluated what it's like, why our program is like it is. And so we were like, okay, maybe we stop going to career fairs. Like I mentioned earlier, we only see it's the same of people that, every company is seeing, like the 30 to 100 and some other companies are seeing the same candidates. We only are, interviewing those candidates that sign up for that quick 30-minute interview, and then not everybody on the team gets to meet them, and they only get a kind of glimpse into our culture by our quirkiness at the career fair booth or the fun game nights or whatever it is. This way they can see, if we bring them on site, they can see everything. So that's when kind of we sat down and we're like, okay, so now what we'll do is let's stop traveling to college campuses. Let's still use the contacts we've made over the last 2 years and promote our summer internship opportunities. but we really need to get the word out there. So we kind of started using vendors and everything like that, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. You're not the first person. I think many folks on the phone are either starting to build a program or starting to adjust their program. Where we do have, Keith, we have a lot of stakeholders that we're managing, right? Whether it's the CEO for you, Tony, going, wait a minute, I want them on site, right? Or others of us where you have multiple different organizations of different talent that you're bringing on. So you're constantly trying to juggle all of those stakeholders and figuring out what's the best and optimal program for your organization. I know I've had the pleasure of being at Zappos outside of Vegas, and it is really it is a great opportunity to get to know the culture by being there physically. So I could see how Tony really wanted to do that, but that does probably provide some different transitions, right? And so, what were some of the stumbling blocks that you ran into with this transition? Because it sounds like it was definitely an added investment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, stumbling blocks is we were only just getting into, or just kind of the interns getting here for year 2 of our program. So we really didn't have an established program at this point. And so our name kind of really wasn't out there. And that was, at the time, I think Zappos maybe was a little more popular with, shoppers that are looking for, seasoned shoppers that are looking for business suits, or because we sell shoes and clothes and accessories and everything like that, or, their running shoes and stuff like that. We still weren't well known amongst the college age demographic. So even for example, when we were going to career fairs, everybody's like, oh, Zappos, aren't you guys that lighter company? And we're like, no, we're not the lighter company. And so for the first 2 years, there was a lot of education on, what Zappos is, who we are, and, inform them about our culture and kind of our unique way of life here and the opportunities that we have. And so we were still kind of having that. I would say that would be a roadblock, is trying to get our name out there to college students and let them, and really want them to consider Zappos as an internship opportunity, Also, we're in Vegas, so everybody's probably thinking, oh man, that'd be awesome to do an internship in Vegas. Well, it's 110 degrees during the summer here, so it's also trying to convince not only students but their parents, because parents have a big influence on students and their decisions they make. So getting our kind of internships out there and showing the value of what we can provide those students during the 10 weeks of the program. Also is, so with getting them out there, we definitely had to start partnering with a bunch of different vendors which we weren't used to doing. We were just used to posting on career services sites and then working with career services. So it was like, hey, who are some big name players right now that will help us get our internships out there? And so it was doing a lot of research and everything like that. Then what does that program look like what do those interviews look like when we bring them on site? So it was an awesome opportunity, and it was an awesome learning experience, and we definitely learned a lot through those times.
Kirsten, this is actually a great input. We're going to ask you to talk about kind of really your current college recruiting program looks like, but we've also had a great question from Veronica on as you started to bring the candidates out to the campus for that interview experience, were you paying for them? You guys were covering all that cost?
Yeah, we actually were, and so that was actually a huge thing too, is to convince our finance teams, hey, I know we normally just spend travel and flight to these certain campuses and pay for the career fairs and everything like that. We actually want to fly a lot of candidates out to Vegas and put them up in a hotel room and everything like that, and they're like, wait a minute. Thankfully, with that, everybody has a very similar mentality that it would increase the interest in the program, but it would also be a better opportunity for those students to experience what it's like. So thankfully, everybody was like, okay, that makes complete sense. The cost might jump up a little bit, but it's well worth it, because we think we get more valuable candidates because, they get to meet, like I said, meet more of the team, and so they'd have a longer screening process so you could really dig deep into their technical fit and their cultural fit.
Great. And so talk us through kind of your guys' current program. I think you've got some great information here to share with folks. I think will help address some of their questions, but also you've got good content. So share with us.
Absolutely. And so if we can just jump up to a quick overview of the program. So yeah, this is just a quick quick outline of what I'm going to talk through. So the first piece, like I mentioned earlier, is marketing. Obviously, marketing is going to be huge for us because we didn't have that well-established program yet, and so the word wasn't out. And so we've partnered with 4 different kind of career or student posting sites or just different vendors that will help get the internship opportunities out to schools. And then we also, obviously, social media is huge, and so we created our Facebook page and our, now Instagram, which back then, I don't even know if Instagram was around, but then I think it was just Twitter and Facebook in the beginning, and then now we've expanded to Snapchat and Instagram. We've done a lot of things. We still reach out to our career services, partners that we worked with and say, hey, we're about to open up our application window. We would love it if you would, share the opportunities. We do different things. Like on the slide, you can see that we, with one of our vendors, if you don't mind jumping up to the marketing slide, sorry, you can see that we actually did a Google Hangout. And so it was, grabbed 3 or 4 hiring partners and myself, and we kind of talked through the program and what it looks like and everything like that, and then that way we could share it on our social media, other people can share it on theirs, and also we utilize our current Zapponians, so that's what we call ourselves here, is Zapponians, and so we kind of give shout outs to the company. We send a huge thing. It says, hey, if you guys know anybody that are in college that meet these requirements, share the opportunity. The application window's open. We utilize something we do for our interns each year. We create a Facebook group so they can start chatting before they actually get to Vegas for the summer and to Zappos. And so our past programs were like, hey, because they'll still have friends that, or, reach out to past professors to share the opportunity. So we kind of try to cast the widest net at that point and kind of just get the word out there about our program, just because we won't be traveling to college campuses and they won't actually get to meet us in person at that point. So kind of with this now, we had to have, a typical application window. And so we started with 2 weeks to see kind of what interest we would gauge at that point. And that seemed to actually work out really well. But yeah, so that's kind of like the beginning of the application window.
Great. So given that you guys do cast a pretty wide net and you use a lot of different channels and different, not only your current employees, your current Zapponians, but also your previous interns and all the different channels, how did you guys deal with kind of what then became a huge influx of candidates that you now receive?
Yes, absolutely. It's a great question. So that's what I'm going to kind of get into this next couple steps. So we kind of also did things a little differently in regards to who we interviewed, right? So traditional style, you would, look at their GPA, look at their resume, look at their major and like the schools they go to and the programs that they're in. With this new shift of our recruiting model, we actually stopped looking at GPA, at their major and everything like that. So everybody that applied kind of got moved forward to the next step, which was crazy for us because it started to be a lot of candidates. And on the previous slide, it was like, I think at this point our max is 7,600 candidates. Last semester we had applied for 8 positions, which is crazy. And so, but in the beginning we, had a few thousand still. And so what we decided is, since we stopped screening for GPA and major and everything, because we really realized that we wanted their skills to do the talking. So every single person that applies, if they meet do you graduate between this time and this time, and are you getting like a bachelor's, master's, or PhD degree, then you qualify. So those are the only essentially restrictions. And so everybody gets a challenge in a virtual interview. So the first is a virtual interview. And essentially what we're looking for there, since we can't screen and meet all these people in person, we want to, and so just a little sidebar, this is actually one of our current interns, and I told him I was using this picture because I thought it was hilarious. And since he works here, he was like, man, don't use that. So this is an example of, we'll ask questions, cultural and technical. And the technical ones will actually work with each team that's getting an intern the following summer, and they'll come up with questions. And then we have standard, cultural questions, and just really kind of introducing themselves and us getting to know them a little bit more outside of just that resume. And so we'll ask, 5 to 10 questions, and it's quick. It takes about 15, 20 minutes to record. And so that's us giving us the opportunity to get to know, them a little bit more. And then next we have the technical challenge. So each team will come up with some sort of challenge. It could be anything. So, for example, our software engineers, we actually utilize HackerRank, and they do a 2 to 4 hour coding challenge. And so we'll get to see their coding skills and everything like that. And then, or it could be like for our merchandising teams, we can do an Instagram challenge, and we can really kind of see their challenge of putting together, doing their trend forecasting and everything like that. It honestly is all dependent on what the team wants to screen for. What we try to tell the team is, try to think of a challenge that doesn't last more than 4 hours, obviously, because we know that these students are going to school full time. We don't want to take up too much of their time, but at the same time, we want to see their technical skills, and we want them to put a lot of effort into it. So they really, like one of the examples on there is build an Android app, or for our front-end development team, it's, create a website, and we're huge into llamas here, so it's like put a hidden llama somewhere in the website, but they have to build it, essentially. And so it honestly depends on the team and what kind of technical challenge we're looking for. And so after all of that, that helps us narrow down the candidate. So we'll do initial passes on the virtual interview to gauge passion, to essentially find alignment with our 10 core values here at Zappos, and then the team will narrow it down to their top 3 to 4 candidates, and then that's who we fly on site. And so we'll fly them on site for essentially a 2-day event. And that really is a great picture into what it's like to work at Zappos. So like the first day, we give them breakfast. We joke that we feed them 1,000,000 times, and that they'll each probably gain like 5 pounds during the 2-day event. We give them a tour. We give them presentations about a lot of different things, about downtown Las Vegas, about different functions here at Zappos. They'll actually do like an intro icebreaker with the teams during lunch. And that's their first introduction to the team. And then after lunch, the team will take them and have 2 hours with them to do some sort of technical challenge. And so this is completely up to the team as well. Some teams say, you know what, we really got a lot from that initial technical challenge, so we want to kind of see how they work in teams, right? So we want to see they're kind of like their team spirit a little bit. And so they'll have them do team building events where they have to partner. One of the things they do, it's like a bunch of different kind of obstacles. So one of the things is like a tower building, and then they're blindfolded, and then an obstacle course and they're blindfolded. And so they have to communicate and see how they communicate with each other. And so the team, that's just one example of the team's challenge during the on-site event. Another is, a 2-hour like kind of Shark Tank where they have to come up with a pitch and then, present the pitch to the hiring team. So it can seriously vary depending on what the team is looking for. And then at the end of the day, a true Zappos style will end with a happy hour mixer, because it's really to get each candidate a little bit more comfortable outside of the typical interview atmosphere, and just to get relaxed and just to get to know them a little bit more. And then we send them back to the hotel, because the next day is full day of interviews. And so that's when you'll get a technical interview with the team, and then you'll also get a core value interview. And that's something that's standard with every position that we hire for here, full-time and intern. Everybody must go through a core value interview with a recruiter. And that's really what we're looking for is alignment with our 10 core values during that interview. And then also all candidates will go to lunch with the team. And I remember when we first started this, we were a little nervous, because we're like, man, we're bringing all these candidates on site for the same position. What if they get super competitive and, everything like that, and they sabotage each other, and we were so nervous. Honestly, it is one of my favorite times of the year, is because it's actually what happened was complete opposite. We noticed the camaraderie between candidates that are going for the same position. They create GroupMe messages. They bond over those 2 days here. And we actually have, this is a really cool thing that we've heard back from other candidates that said, thank you so much. Even though I didn't get the position, I was really stoked that, Billy got the position or whatever, because he's a great guy, which to me, that just kind of not to be cheesy, it warmed my heart that they were kind of rooting for each other. Like if they couldn't get it, they were glad one of the other people they met, because they bonded so well with them, which I was so that's one of my favorite parts, to see them bond during those 2-day events.
It sounds like definitely a rigorous process you guys do, but also a great chance for you to get a really good feel for the capabilities, as well as kind of the the value, whether or not the candidate's values really fit with Zappos. I know we've got some great questions around kind of the values around Zappos, and maybe we'll kind of get to that with the Q&A. If not, you guys can always check out their website. Actually has a lot of information about Zappos and their culture and their values as a company. So it isn't just about the internship hiring. I think it's for the entire company. Well, now you've done all this incredible work and all the assessment process. Now that you've got the intern selected and they're coming, what does Zappos do to provide the best internship experience possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So we always say we love that we kind of give them an introduction during those 2-day events, but how do we keep that going, right? So one of the things, how do we keep that wow experience going? So we pay for their relocation. So we will fly them or reimburse them if they decide to drive to Las Vegas. So we'll reimburse them to and from the internship. We also give them a $200 stipend to ship their goods to and from. So it's $200 each way. We also pay for their housing. And right now where they're currently staying is about 2 blocks from the actual Zappos office, which is really nice. So we pay for their housing. It's a paid internship, which is always a plus. And then it's so funny, it's about 30% of the interns, their favorite part is actually the discount at Zappos. So we offer a 40% discount on the entire website, and nothing's excluded or anything. So we always joke that the interns spend probably their first 2 paychecks go immediately back into the website because they're buying shoes and just clothes and everything like that. But then I would say the best thing about the program is they're getting that real life experience. From the beginning we joked we're not a typical internship. We don't make you get the coffee. And this actually graphic is it's a graphic from one of the T-shirts we gave the first year's interns, because you will actually be diving into and doing real life work. So for example, a merchandising assistant, you're not just shadowing or anything like that. You're getting right in there with your team and you're placing POs. You're going to vendor meetings and figuring out what a typical buy looks like for that brand and how we onboard brands into the company and everything. So it's a lot of work, I'm not going to lie. It's an intense 10-week internship. 90% of teams will also have presentations that they'll want you to present on, and it's not just for presenting's sake. I actually just talked to an intern yesterday, and she is essentially revamping their whole account executive marketing model, and that's going to be what the marketing team is going to use moving forward. And so it's cool. So we trust our interns to provide amazing, valuable work experience and product. So it's definitely, I would say it's a lot of pressure, but at the same time it's amazing because they're not just filing or whatever it is. They're jumping in and being a contributing member of that team. Also, part of the internship experience is we provide you with a manager. Obviously, that manager is there for the technical skills, your guidance to teach you about the actual job itself and the role. And then we also provide mentors. So previous interns that went through the program, and they're there more as the cultural side and give you that perspective, hey, I know what you're going through. I know this is, it's intense, but juggling the work-life balance and everything like that. They meet regularly, whether it's going to coffee or just kind of getting advice after work or whatever it is. And so they're there for that cultural aspect. And I just love that it's past interns because they essentially were right in that intern's seat, whether it's last year or 3 years prior. And so once they get here also, so a little bit more about our full-time program is every person that gets hired full-time actually goes through a 4-week, we call it new hire training onboarding process, where you actually learn how to place orders for our customers. Because if you're familiar with Zappos, our focus is a lot on customer service. And so obviously it would make sense since our internship is only 10 weeks long if 4 of those weeks we put them through the exact onboarding. So what we try to do is that first week we condense it. So we let them shadow our call center, and that's what it says CLT because it's our customer loyalty team. We go through, basic things. We'll go over the expectations of the internship and everything like that, kind of lessons learned from previous interns. And so that's just a quick kind of snapshot of our company that first week, and they also will kind of get the intro to their teams. And then after that, they're with their teams for the remaining part of the internship. But during the internship, we're not a typical college recruiting team where it's like, okay, we recruited you, good luck, little fledgling or whatever it is. We actually are the ones that are organizing the onboarding that I just chatted about. We're also the ones that we keep tabs on them. We're always checking in. We do kind of feedback sessions with them. If they have any issues or questions, they can constantly come and chat with us. I feel like we have of our current 28 interns, I feel like we see 4 or 5 each day just coming over just to say hi at our desk, because it's a very open atmosphere here at Zappos. But a few of the other things that we actually do is we host events for them. So the college recruiting team will host events. So since we are in Vegas and everybody thinks of Vegas as just the Strip, I don't know how many times I get asked if I live in an actual hotel or casino, we want to definitely show people that have never lived in Vegas before that there's so much to do outside of the typical Las Vegas experience. So we take them hiking in Mount Charleston, which is only a 45-minute drive, and what's great is it's about 20 to 30 degrees cooler, and so we take them hiking, and it's beautiful mountains, and so that's that one picture. Obviously, we're taking goofy pictures, and then we'll take them on what we call a karma adventure. So Zappos is huge in giving back to the local community, and so we partner with a bunch of different kind of charities throughout Las Vegas, and so we usually will pick one each year, and we'll go and volunteer. This year we went 2 weeks ago to volunteer at something called 3 Square, which is where we're kind of building lunches and food and packing up groceries for underprivileged families. It's really cool because the interns get to see what impact we had by how many lunches we packed or how many grocery bags we packed and everything like that. Our final event is what we call Boat Day, and so we call it our final hoorah because it's an opportunity at the end of the 10 weeks for us all just to get together, share experiences, share great things and projects that they got to work on, and just during this internship, those 20 to 40 different interns, whoever we have that year, they've built friendships that will last a lifetime, and so it's kind of like our farewell send-off if they go back to school or if they're going off to graduate, and it's just an amazing time to kind of just bond one last time with the interns.
Great summary of what you guys really try to do to have that interview experience continue through all of their experience in the summertime. So then how do you guys really measure success of the program kind of post the internship? What does that start to look like for you guys at Zappos, Kirsten?
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of companies, when they're gauging success of a program, they'll have to present on conversion rate and everything like that. Well, obviously each company, business needs are constantly changing, so there are times that we will have an amazing intern and we might not have a full-time opportunity for them at that moment. And so what we don't generally look at conversion rate, we'll look at success rate is what we call it. And what that means is, obviously, if we were to have a position open, would we offer this intern a full-time position in this role? And so we look at that. We look at, and we're huge at kind of promoting within and stuff like that. And as an intern, a lot of interns are kind of experiencing or doing an internship to see if that's truly what we want. So we'll also say, maybe if it's not a right fit for that team, would this intern be a good fit for a different team? Because they also have great shadow opportunities throughout the 10 weeks that they're here to shadow with different teams. So, for example, we have a finance intern that is really passionate about user experience. So she's been shadowing and actually working on a project with not only her team, but the user experience team. And so we actually rate that really highly if we would bring them back to maybe a different team. And then, so that rate is generally a little bit higher because we might not be able to convert, but at the same time, we still consider that a success because it's, one of the main points of an internship program is to build that pipeline for down the road. Whether we can't offer them and they go off somewhere, work somewhere for 2 or 3 years, get experience, and we have a position then open up, then we have someone that we'll immediately reach out to because we know they were a great success on that team. And like I said previously, were they a good fit maybe for a different team? We actually had someone we couldn't offer a position in his current team, but he got to know and shadowed different teams and actually really hit it off well with one team and worked on a couple projects, we actually offered him a full-time job in that new team. So that's what I love about Zappos. We're a big company, but at the same time we're a small company because there are so many different opportunities to get to know different teams. So so that's kind of how we measure success, was that, like, instead of conversion rate, we do a success rate.
That's great to have information on that. As we take a look at kind of wrapping up here, you really have done a tremendous amount from the initial beginnings of the program, how you guys, flipped it and then continued to improve it from there. What do you think are the opportunities to expand and improve, the college recruiting program going forward? What are the things you're thinking about already?
Yeah, there's definitely always opportunities to improve. Each year, I feel like, or even each semester, we're kind of switching something up with our process, even if it's just little tweaks here and there. Some of the things we've expanded over the couple years, so we always have our summer program, and then we also, last year, we started an MBA rotational program, which is a full-time employment. So previously we were only doing internships, but this is our first kind of dive into full-time. And so we just actually in June, our 2 MBA rotational candidates actually just joined the team. And so in October, we're going to start prepping for, like, as of right now, we're prepping for our summer program next year. In October, we're going to start prepping for that MBA rotational program where they get to rotate every 6 months to a different team, because it's really focusing on that marketing and analytics side and that business side and strategy. So that's a cool opportunity that we've kind of expanded into. We've also done a few different things. A few years ago, we needed a little bit more influx of software engineers, so we started a semester program, and so we did a fall and a spring semester program where it was great because they were able to be here a little bit longer. They were here 14 weeks instead of 10 weeks since it was a semester, and so then we scaled back to just our summer program because that actually worked out amazing. It was cool. We actually converted 2 of those, 5 into full-time employees. So we're constantly kind of looking at business needs and seeing where we can, should we maybe add a semester program, or should we maybe take it away and build up our summer program? So we're, again, just constantly looking at those needs to see how we can improve and increase it. A big thing right now to improve is looking at kind of like the universities and our vendors to see who's providing kind of the best quality candidates, and how we gauge that is, what sources are giving us the most candidates that are coming on site for those interviews. So who are providing us those finalists, and everything like that. So, it's constantly kind of looking at the program and seeing how do we work smarter, So, yeah, that's just a couple of things.
No, it's great information. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I think what I'd love to be able to do is really kind of, you've got some key takeaways. There's a lot of content and a lot of learnings you had in here, Wade. So talk us a little bit about your key takeaways. What do you think about all of this work that you've done through the years?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, like that first bullet point says think differently, because, first perfect example is when Tony came to us and was like, when do they come on site? And we're like, well, we don't, because in college recruiting, you travel to college campuses and you do career fairs and information sessions. But it's like he challenged us to say, well, why do you do that? And so I definitely challenge you guys to think differently about not dissing at all going to college campuses and everything like that, but just find out different ways you can reach those students and really kind of share more about your culture and your company. Another one is think about modeling your process after a full-time process. So we did that when, like Tony said, we bring all full-time candidates on site, and they have to come on site to experience our culture. That worked out really well for us because, A, more people from the team were able to meet the candidates, but also there was a lot more screening involved. Like, it's an intense process to be a summer intern here because it's not only the challenge in the virtual interview, it's a 2-day event of constant interviewing and challenges and activities, which that's kind of modeled after, it's similar to our full-time process. I think the biggest thing is, identifying what you want your interns to take away from the summer experience. Our biggest thing is we want them to take away, just an overall amazing experience, but that real world experience that will help them define their future, help them define what they want to do, and just teach them things, obviously, in the 10 weeks they're here. But at the same time, on the other end, we want them to build lifetime friendships here and just networking opportunities, or just, we still have people, we have many previous interns that have kind of went off and gotten different full-time jobs that actually end up living together afterwards because of the bond that they've created here during the summer. And then the biggest thing is, like I mentioned, is building that pipeline, obviously. So if we aren't able to offer someone a full-time position, but we are still stay in contact with them, and when they come in town, we're kind of meeting up for coffee or we're going to lunch, and it's just continually kind of keeping in touch with all of our previous candidates or previous interns.
That's great. Thank you for all of that. I am thrilled that we are at Q&A because we have over 40 Q&A questions. I don't think we've ever had so many questions on a webinar. This is fantastic. So Kirsten, what I've tried to do is I've tried to kind of bucket them into major themes because there's so many questions, but there are some themes to a lot of the questions that we have. The first one is that you talk about that whole brand awareness and figuring out to expand the target of where you go. Can you talk a little bit about what are the things that you guys do to gain that awareness? Because you said some people are like, Zappos, is that the lighter, right? And talk a little bit about how long it maybe took to really get that brand to take off for you guys at the colleges you were targeting.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the beginning, it was definitely the first 2 years, we were still getting that question of if we're that lighter company. But I would say, and then that first year of really doing the new recruiting model, thankfully, we have some amazing career services people out there that help spread the word about Zappos, and it's just kind of building those relationships and kind of sharing like our culture with them. So we'd actually have a lot of people that will come into Vegas for like different sessions or whatever, or vacation, and they'll reach out or like conferences, and then we'll reach out to us to have us like kind of meet and discuss our program, but we'll invite them to our campus and we'll show them around so they can actually get a taste of what it's like to work here and everything. So that helped us, I would say, kind of doing the Google Hangouts and kind of showing our culture. A big thing that helped us gain traction also is the word of mouth from previous interns. We always see an upswing of candidates coming from the schools where interns just went back to school. So like say we have a bunch of University of Michigan students, they'll go back to school, and we always see a kind of uptick from University of Michigan because, we're super grateful for that, that we were hopefully able to provide them an amazing experience, that they want to share that experience with, their classmates and their professors and everything. So that's definitely helped us build our brand. But yeah, it's just really kind of get the word out there, talk to everybody, anybody that reaches out from career services or anything like that, or vendors, we're definitely kind of jumping on the phone and chatting with them. Also, keeping that brand consistent, especially with the vendors, kind of showcasing our culture with videos and with also our social media is keeping that kind of on point with our brand and everything. So what's a cool actually thing we've done the last few years is we actually let the interns take over our social media accounts for Zappos internships, which if you guys want to follow us, it's Zinternships, and it's a really cool opportunity to actually meet our summer interns.
No, that's great. Thank you for sharing for that, because I know creating awareness for some of our folks on the phone is a part of what they're wanting to do to differentiate themselves. Another area of questions that we had was around how do you determine which colleges or which programs to target? Because if you were to count up all the universities across the United States or even globally, you could have a lot that are there. How did you guys decide at Zappos where to target from a college perspective?
Yeah, so in the beginning, obviously we looked at majors. We looked at different universities that had great success with those specific majors, and then just kind of kept evaluating where we were getting our top candidates from. But what's cool is with the introduction of, like, say, Handshake or different platforms and different vendors we work with, we try to cast the widest net. So I think we try to reach out to every university because we have found some amazing talent coming from these tiny little private universities. I know a lot of companies will target like big name schools, but we try to hit everybody, and just because we want to because we believe when we know amazing talent comes from everywhere, and so Yeah, I think last year we posted at 160 or 180 different schools. And the biggest thing is, where we see trends coming from. So we make a point to, I keep using University of Michigan. Like I said, I'm from Michigan. So even though I'm a Spartan, I went to Michigan State. I don't know why I'm using the University of Michigan. Sorry, all you Sparties out there. So we'll kind of pick schools that we know we've gotten some amazing interns from, and we definitely will keep posting at them. But if somebody reaches out to us and says, hey, I want to share more about our school, and we're like, yeah, absolutely. And so we'll, either myself or the college recruiter will jump on the phone and chat with them about the program. We'll add their contact name to our contact list, and that way before every application window we reach out to them and they share the opportunity. It's just kind of through word of mouth too, has been great success for us.
Great, thank you for that. One of the other questions we had that was tied to this is that some of the colleges and the universities tend to have their own process for college recruiting, and you guys have a very concrete program and process that you use. How do you manage that with certain colleges potentially?
Yeah, so we can run into that. So we do have to stick to our process, sadly. So a lot of students might reach out to us, say, we have to do a 15-week internship, and sadly everybody must do the 10 weeks. We need them to all go through onboarding together, and we have their last day. So we do have those set time frames, so we can't kind of
accommodate all of those. Okay.
Yeah, and again, we try as much as we could, but there's certain things we do have to stick to with our program.
No, I get it. This is, you were talking about the different programs you guys have. So can you talk a little bit about, do you guys do like a co-op program? It sounds like you guys do some internships during the school year as well. Can you just describe the specific internships that you guys do offer at Zappos? And then that's going to lead me into my next question, which is around kind of your metrics and your numbers. People are really interested in how many applicants you get, how many virtual interviews, et cetera. So what are the types of internships you guys actually have at Zappos on an annual basis?
Yeah, so I've mentioned a few. Over the last, since we started, we'll introduce a program. So it was a year and a half ago we introduced the semester program, or 2 years ago, and for those software needs that I mentioned. And then after a year we actually kind of eliminated that program because we found the need we filled the need we had, and then we focused just strictly on the summer program. Our summer program is our staple program. The amount of candidates will fluctuate. And then, again, we had one program for our merchandising teams. We partnered with one specific school to create a program where we either have 1 or 2 interns from that program, and that came from a need from our merchandising teams. This was like 4 years ago, and that need, we don't have that need any longer, so, we are eliminated that program. But I say eliminated, but it could always come back because we're constantly still building those relationships with that school, or we have the relationships for our semester program. We always, like I said, we come back to our summer program because we definitely, all experiences we try to make the best, but the summer program is, it's established, most students have the summer off, and so we find the biggest amount of candidates that we get are for that summer program. And then we had a need with our marketing teams and our pricing teams and our strategy teams and our finance teams. So that's when a year ago it was presented to us to create an MBA rotational program, which is a full-time opportunity. So it's not an internship. It's 2 years. You'll go through 4 different departments, and then whatever department you're kind of working in and you find the best connection with and, really love the work that you're doing, you'll go into that program after the 2-year rotational program.
Got it. That's great. I think one of the things that I would take away from this for folks that are kind of trying to figure this out is you've got a business need, right? So you guys are able to really look at your summer internship program and maximizing all of the return on your investment, because there is a great deal of investment to really kind of meet the needs of the business, but you're flexing every once in a while, whether it's been the semester, software engineer, or the merchandising, or the MBA, right? I think it's a great takeaway for folks is really see what your business need is and then have your internship program probably be the biggest focus to meet those needs, but it doesn't mean you don't do other things from there. Talk to us a little bit about your numbers, and what we mean is being able to look at like how many applicants do you guys tend to have, how many folks then turn in, and maybe you have ratios on this, how many folks then get the virtual interview, how many folks get the on-site interview, how many offers are given, how many people actually accept your offers, And then from the interns, how many of those do you actually make full-time offers that they actually come back? So I think folks are really interested in your ratios in that area, because then it's going to lead me to some of their other questions, which is around how many people run this and what's your budget? So talk to us about that funnel of your internship program.
Yeah, so I'll speak to last year since it's the most recent numbers. So with applicants, everybody gets that challenge and virtual interview as long as you meet those, 2 or 3 requirements that I mentioned in the beginning. So last fall we had over 4,000, a little over 4,000 applicants for 28 positions. And so, yeah, which is crazy because we have, but what's cool, and this sounds kind of weird how I'm saying it's cool, is not everybody completes the challenge in the virtual interview because they only have a certain amount of time, and sometimes it's less than a week depending on when they apply to actually complete the challenge in the virtual interview. So we see a lot of candidates that don't complete that, and so that's essentially them self-selecting themselves out. And generally we only have, obviously it fluctuates every year, but and each semester, it's about 27 to 41% will actually complete the challenge in the virtual interview. So for example, in the fall last year, we had 1,387 people complete it. And since spring is always a lot busier, we hit a record this year. We had, so to be exact, we had 7,758 students apply and get that challenge and virtual interview for the spring. And at that point, we only had 8 positions left. So that was crazy.
That does sound a little bit nuts. Let's go back to your 4,000 that you had last fall, because you had 4,000 applicants. I'm roughly saying about 1,300 actually finished the virtual interviews. How many of those did you bring on site to do interviews, and how many of those did you make offers to for those 28 positions?
Yeah, so we will generally bring 3 to 4 people on site per position, and we usually will have 2 events in the fall, one more tech focused and one more business focused. We're actually combining that event this year, so it's going to be a lot of people because we're looking for 20 summer interns this summer. But we can have between the two events like 120 people come on site to interview. And then generally in the fall we'll fill 2/3 of those positions. So I believe we filled, what did we fill? I think we filled 18 positions in the fall, and then the remaining ones we had to recruit for in the spring. And so we had like 8 or 9 positions to still recruit for, and that's when we had the 7,800 candidates apply. And then we had 2,100 complete the challenge and virtual interviews. So we went through 2,100 virtual interviews and challenges and everything, and we brought in, I think it was around 40 candidates that time.
Got it. And then what's your offer kind of acceptance ratio? Let's say you guys had 28 total positions. Were you guys putting out 50 offers to get 28 interns, or what's that rough ratio look like for you guys?
No, that actually constantly changes, and we've noticed a flux in actually positions and semesters as well, which is really interesting. The exact percentage I don't have, but I think we had
rough is fine.
Yeah, I think we had like 4 or 5 candidates turn down the position. But thankfully we have backup candidates, and then those ones, like I said, we don't have backup candidates for, or maybe the team felt they didn't find that perfect fit, those will move to the next semester.
Got it. Okay. And then of your 28 interns you had for the summer, how many of those do you end up making offers to maybe come back as full-time employees?
Yeah, again, that kind of always kind of fluctuates depending on business needs. So we've had it as high as 65% conversion, but it's been as low as after the whole calendar year, because we don't, obviously, if you still have a whole another year left, we don't know our business needs from a year out. So we're, for the next 9 months, we're looking at, our business needs and if we can convert that person that was an intern last year. I think so as high as 65%, as low as around 20%.
Okay, that's great. And so I think the big takeaway for folks on this is that you guys really run a college program recruitment that's in the fall, which is where you have the 4,000 applicants to try to target your summer, how many interns you were looking for the summer. And then you've got, a certain percentage, call it, 30, 40% actually complete the virtual interview. then you've got folks kind of coming on site that's, call it 100 or so, and you've really only got 4 or 5 out of the 28 you were making offers to that actually declined the offer. And then the conversion for making them full-time offers is anywhere from 20 to 65. But I think what's also interesting is what you talked about is that you guys run this in the fall to try to fill your summer interns, and sometimes you fill all of them and sometimes you don't, so then you do a spring push as well, and in that spring push is where you guys had 5,000. So talk about there's a huge influx that happens in that spring period to just fill what could be the remaining maybe only 7 or 8 spots you have. The last question I wanted to ask you about, Kirsten, was, now that we have a better understanding of you guys are kind of running a college program that's kind of in the 25 to 30 interns per summer, and have a better idea of how many applicants and you guys are working through, what's the size of the team that does this college recruiting for you guys at Zappos, and can you talk a little bit about your budget at all? I mean, I think people are really trying to struggle with, gosh, if we're going to do only 10 interns at my company, how many people do we need and how much budget do we need? And could you give some guidance for folks in this arena, or just some learnings you've had too?
Sadly, I cannot talk about budget, but our team is, this year it's 2 people. Last year it was 2.5, which I know that sounds weird. And just how much time, our resources can kind of give to the college program. The year before it was 3 people on the college recruiting team, and every year prior to that it's been 2. So we're back down to 2 since we are only having 2 or 20 summer interns, and then the MBA program, where before we had 3 because we were also doing the semester program and we were also doing that other merchandising program, and we were on upwards of 40 some interns. So it kind of all depends. But it's generally 2 or 3 people on our college recruiting program. And so, but yeah, sadly, budget I cannot share.
That's okay. No, I think if anything, it helps people. I mean, the good thing is you've given them a lot of the ingredients of a budget, right? You guys pay the interns, you pay for their housing, right? You help pay for their reload, so someone can actually start to budget from a budget perspective, and then you've got outreach to different programs and things that you do. I think this has been incredibly helpful for thinking about what things you guys have done that have really differentiated the Zappos program, as well as just also sharing with us all the things that have really worked, and then also the things that you've struggled with. So thank you for sharing all of that with us. And I really want to thank all of our participants. We had a tremendous amount of participants and incredible questions that were in here as well. So thank you for all of that. And I think we'll close it out at that point. I want to hand it over to Rachel, who's going to take us home to the final piece.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Again, it's Rachel Vasquez from the marketing team at Jobvite. For attending today's webinar, you've earned 1 professional development credit from SHRM and 1 credit from HRCI. Again, you'll also receive this information in an email, including slides and the recording, so you'll be all set later this week. Keep an eye out for that. Thank you all again. Hopefully, we had lots of questions, probably the most I've ever seen on a webinar, so thank you for your participation. Hopefully, we were able to answer all of it, and if we weren't, we'll definitely follow up with you within the next few days. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.